Everyone, Jen Harris with Connected to Lead. I am excited because we get to talk about one of my most favorite things to do, which is self-care. And so I'm going to pull up our slides so we have an opportunity to walk through all of the great information and resources that I have for you today. I do want to give a special shout out to Ana E. Picasso, who is a therapist with Connected to Lead. My apologies. She is one of my most favorite people, and she actually developed the slides for us today. And so I'm glad that I get to present the information because there is a lot of great information in here. We'll be talking about some techniques. We will also have an opportunity to do some of those techniques, and really hoping that you all will be able to get a lot out of today's workshop. So we're first going to start with 2 exercises that you can use immediately. So what I want you to do, we're going to start with our 5-finger breathing exercise. So with this particular exercise, how you do it is you take the palm of your hand. You can pick any hand that you'd like. And what you're going to do is hold the palm of your hand out. And I want to make sure I'm in the camera. You're going to use your fingers to help guide your breathing. So what you're going to do is take the opposite hand, the hand that you have free. You're going to take your index finger, and you have an opportunity to trace your fingers up and down. And so this will help guide your breathing. And in order for you to do the 5-finger breathing technique effectively, you want to make sure that you're not trying to rush through it. This isn't a competition. This isn't, an opportunity for you to just get it over with. This provides an opportunity for you to practice mindfulness. It provides an opportunity for you to control your breathing and for you to really center yourselves. So we're going to try it right now. I want all of you to stick out your hand like so. You're just going to put it in front of you. You're going to take the opposite hand and you're going to trace your fingers. So let's start. You're going to breathe in as you go up and breathe out as you curve your finger. Breathe in. Hold it and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. All right. So how did that feel? I know for me, I definitely feel a little looser in my shoulder blades, a little looser in my shoulders. I feel a lot calmer. And so if you choose to do the 5-finger breathing technique, this is something that you can do repeatedly. So you can actually do this a few times and notice how your energy shifts. Notice how your breathing becomes more controlled. You want to make sure you're just focusing on your fingers, your breathing, and really tracing those fingers. Additionally, there is another technique called color breathing. I like this one because it provides an opportunity for you to identify what color you're currently experiencing, and then identify what color you would like to experience. So for example, maybe right now you feel a little melancholy, or maybe you feel a little tired, and maybe you associate being tired with blue. And so you say, I want energy, I want to feel vibrant, and so I want to be yellow. What you can do is breathe in that yellow. So breathe, 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 breathe. Hold that yellow in. And then you're going to breathe out that blue. So I want you to really envision as you're breathing, what you're breathing in, which is that energy, that vibrancy. And then you're breathing out the tiredness, the low energy. And then you're going to breathe in that yellow, that warmth, that sunlight, that energy. You're going to breathe out that sunlight, that energy. So what you're doing is you're breathing it in, then you're exhaling what what you no longer want to have, what you no longer want to feel. And then you're going to breathe in what you want again, and you're going to breathe what you want out and continue to work through that breathing. You may start to notice as you visualize what you're breathing in and what you're breathing out really change. It can change the way your body feels. It can change, how you're connecting with whatever's happening in your environment. And so it's a great opportunity for you to practice that. The one thing I do want to mention about the 5-finger breathing technique is that maybe you're trying to calm down. Maybe you're at work, maybe you're at school, somebody pisses you off or something happens and you have to put out a fire. Maybe you're feeling high stress or anxiety. Maybe you're in front of other people and it doesn't seem logical to just pop out your hand, right? One of the things that you could do is actually take your hand and place it on your thigh, and you can have it sitting there. And if you're at a desk or something, you could use your other hand to trace around your fingers, and breathe in and breathe out. The other thing you could do is actually visualize your hand and one hand being held out or having your 5 fingers spread out, and then using your other hand and having a finger, navigating around your other fingers and really breathing in and breathing out. So you can still do the technique, even if you can't just bam, put your hand out. And so we wanted to start with this because we think it's important for us to be able to center ourselves. I think sometimes as it relates to self-care, there are different obstacles. There are different things that may kick up for us. And so we really want you all to be focused during this time, for you to take what you need from this workshop, because the goal is for you to walk away feeling empowered, for you to walk away feeling inspired, and for you to walk away knowing that you can and should practice self-care, because taking care of yourself is important. So our objectives for today, we're going to focus on multiple aspects of self-care. We had an opportunity to practice 2 techniques through breathing exercises. We have one more opportunity to practice a technique through a mindfulness exercise that will be led by the Calm app. And then we also want you all to create an individualized self-care strategy so you can actually implement it. So when you stop watching this video, you should be able to start putting things into practice, or you can schedule it out and be intentional about that, looking at what this next week looks like for you or the rest of your day. So please grab a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook if you have it, because this is going to be helpful as you decide to come up with your self-care strategy. So real quick, Connected to Lead, our organization focuses on creating space for people of all ages to make meaningful connections while strengthening the leader within them. With the different services we provide, we offer leadership development, counseling, case management, and mentorship. We also provide life skills and curriculum development. We have an opportunity to do cool workshops like this and get to connect with people on a daily basis. So let's jump into self-care. Usually when we ask folks like, what is self-care, or describe self-care to us? Usually they're like women, 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 or it's a bubble bath. It's going to the spa, right? Usually going to the spa, that's like one of the number one things I hear, or going to an island and being on this like luxury trip. I want to make it very clear that self-care is not just for women, and it doesn't only involve going to the spa or being on some luxury trip somewhere. So please be mindful of that. That anyone can practice self-care. We just did some breathing exercises that were free. You didn't have to pay for anything. And so please know that self-care doesn't always cost money. The goal is really about us taking care of ourselves. So what is self-care? This is really focused on caring for the whole person. As it relates to you and your own self-care practices, I want you to be mindful of that because it's important that you understand what's going to work best for you, but also realize that self-care isn't about only taking care of our mental health or only taking care of our emotional health. Self-care encompasses all aspects of our well-being because we understand that all aspects impact our overall health and well-being. Self-care is also proactive. There are a lot of times where people will practice self-care because they're being reactive. There was a situation that came up and now they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. I need to do something about this. As opposed to if you practice self-care regularly, you can have a plan in place. You can be proactive if something comes up. Self-care is also intentional. There are sometimes people who will reference self-care and just say like, I'll get to it. We don't want you to just get to it. Be intentional about making it happen because it's important that you take care of yourself. And then additionally, it's a relationship with yourself. That's extremely important to understand. Self-care isn't about let me focus on this person and that person. It's about how am I connecting with me? How am I taking care of myself? And with everything that I just listed, I never mentioned a woman. I never mentioned the spa. I never mentioned luxury vacations. This is for anybody. This is for everybody. Self-care is important. So let's talk about why it's important. I want you to really think about that. Why do you think self-care is important? Some of the things that may be popping into your head is, well, because I know that I can't help someone else if I don't help myself. We just talked to some of our interns from New York about self-care and about stress because they listed that stress was one of the number one things that young people were dealing with. And so when we were talking about self-care, some of the reasons why they said it was important is because I can't love someone else if I can't love myself, or because sometimes you just need a break. There are so many reasons why self-care is important. And as we think about COVID-19 and everything we've experienced over the last couple of years, self-care is even more important right now because again, we're focusing on our whole self and we have to make sure we are well all the way around, right? We need to make sure we are good. And because of the stressors, because of everything that's happened in our lives, it can be it can seem time consuming. It may seem like there are all of these obstacles. And we acknowledge there are obstacles that definitely come into place, but do we let those obstacles hinder us from taking care of ourselves, hinder us from showing up as our best selves every day? So let's first focus on impacts on our mental health, because when we talk about mental health, there are a lot of different things that can impact it, which can include trauma. So maybe we experience trauma firsthand, or we experience secondary trauma from someone else experiencing trauma. And now we have some the aftermath or some secondary experiences from that. It can be chronic stress, maybe anxiety, depression. SUD stands for substance use disorder, or it can be substance abuse, even intergenerational trauma. that may impact us. I also want to mention, as it relates to mental health, COVID-19 has definitely impacted folks' mental health. We had the social reckoning that took place with so many people of color, in particular, Black people who were killed, and or negative impacts and things that took place with law enforcement. Not all law enforcement, but some law enforcement agencies, right? And so it's important that we acknowledge all of those things and understand that they do impact our mental health. And so, as it relates to COVID-19 and some of its impacts, it really redefined our normal, right? Folks walking around with masks, which is something we didn't do prior to March of 2020. There's been this tolerance of uncertainty because we just don't know what's going on. New strains coming out of COVID-19, a lot of requirements or counties or states saying you have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask, you need to get tested, you don't need to get tested, you have to get vaccinated, you don't have to get vaccinated. So many different things that have left us feeling like, okay, well, this is just kind of how it is. We're in this uncertainty phase. Also, looking at different systems that were previously in place that aren't currently in place now, we have more folks working from home, which has been really awesome for some, and for others, it's been really challenging. I know I've talked to a lot of parents who are like, those first 2 years were tough. Having to be home, working, being on Zoom or Teams or WebEx or Skype, and having my child, my toddler, my teen, whomever it is at home, and them talking, them crying, them playing, whatever it is, right? So definitely some shifts that have taken place. Also, human connection, right? Think about it. It first started off with everybody needs to social distance. And when that came about, there was this, a lot of things that kicked up for that because folks weren't able to get that human connection. People had to be homebound. So you weren't able to give hugs. You weren't able to see people face to face. And then language started to change to be physical distancing. So we don't want you to not be social, because I think even the government and folks recognize that we need that connectedness. So please continue to be social, but make sure you're practicing physical distancing. We really saw that as it related to a lot of the language and stuff that was used. And then as it relates to employment, we talked about work from home, even reprioritizing different wants and needs. I know that there are a lot of colleagues that I know where, their organizations were definitely checking in with them a lot more to find out if they needed anything, to make sure they were good. With Connected to Lead, that was something that we really emphasize, is being able to check in to make sure everybody's good, giving folks the time that they need, giving them grace, right? Extending grace, because COVID-19 definitely impacted folks, not just with our normal routines, but more folks who reported having mental health issues connected to anxiety or depression, or this level of uncertainty that has taken place. And so I love this because one of the things that I do recognize is that we, as people who have cell phones, whether you're team iPhone or team Samsung or team Galaxy, whether you don't have one of those smartphones and you have something else, you wouldn't let your phone battery die, not intentionally. So if you wouldn't let this happen to your phone, why would you let it happen to you, right? Oftentimes I'll hear about people right when they see their phone is getting ready to die. Ooh, where's my charger? Let me find my charger. Let me plug it in. Why don't we do that to ourselves, right? You wouldn't let this happen to your phone. So don't let it happen to you either. Make sure you're charged, recharged. Make sure you're good. And I want everyone to understand self-care is a priority, not a luxury. I'm going to say that again. Self-care is a priority, not a luxury. So you want to make sure you are taking care of yourself at all costs. So we're going to actually do a mindfulness meditation, and it's called Be Present. Calm app, which is one of the apps we have listed, towards the end of our slides, is a great app. They provide meditations, different sounds and things like that. So we're going to do this meditation. I want everyone to get comfortable. It is a guided meditation. So, get comfortable, whether you're seated, whether you're laying down. And I'm going to turn my video off and mute myself. So that way you're not focusing on me, but we're focusing on the meditation. And then when the video ends, I'll come back to it, and then we'll continue with our slides.
Welcome to the Daily Calm. Let's start today's session by finding a comfortable position with a tall, straight back. Allow your arms to rest gently. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Bring full attention to this very moment, settling in and allowing the mind and body to still. And with openness, patience, and curiosity, bring your awareness to the breath. Taking a deep breath in and releasing it fully. Follow the breath as it flows in and out of your body. And taking one last deep breath before letting the breath settle. Allowing it to feel natural and easy. Don't try to force the breath or regulate it in any way. Just allow it to flow naturally on its own. And we'll scan down the body now, concentrating our attention from part to part. Start by bringing your attention to the top of your head and scalp, feeling whatever's happening in this area. You might feel tingling or heat, throbbing or soft vibrations. There may be strong sensation, or you might not feel much at all. Now lower your attention to your forehead, face, and jaw. Allow the muscles here to relax. On your next out breath, let that sensation dissolve. Lower your focus to the neck, letting the throat and sides and back of the neck soften. Notice any sensation that arises on the surface of the skin or deeper within. Now bring your attention to your shoulders, noticing if there's any tension or strain. Breathe into your shoulders, and if any parts feel tight, allow them to relax. Extend your awareness down the arms, towards the wrists, palms, and fingers. On the next out breath, allow them to soften. Now come to the chest, observing the rise and fall of each breath. Notice how the lungs expand and contract. Direct your attention to your upper and lower back. There may be some intensity, as this is an area where we commonly hold stress. If you notice any tension or warmth or discomfort, just observe what's there. With each breath you take, soften just a little bit more. Moving your focus around to your abdomen. Notice it expanding, filling up with air, and slowly emptying on the exhale. Then bring your attention to your pelvis. Notice where your body makes contact with the ground or your chair. And direct your breath into this area, relaxing into stillness. Now scan your legs, observing your thighs. Notice where they make contact with your cushion or chair. Lowering your attention to your knees and your shins and calves. Let your legs soften and tensions release. When you're ready, breathe into your ankles, your feet and toes. Let them relax and become soft. sinking into a state of relaxed awareness. And as we near the end of the session, take a moment to notice how you feel. You may find that you're more relaxed, as this is often a common outcome of meditation. And this is one of the reasons why it's so helpful to meditate during times of stress. When we're experiencing stress, our amygdala fires up and it's difficult to make thoughtful decisions. So if we find our mind is clouded due to overwhelm, we can use meditation as a tool to calm the mind down. Ideally, we want to meditate in a preventative way so we don't get to that point. But the practice is here for you whenever you need it. And as we near the end of the session, bring your attention back to the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes, and slowly open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed today's Daily Calm. I invite you to bring this state of peace with you into the day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Wow. I don't know how you all feel, but I feel extremely relaxed. I mean, I can hear it in my voice. It's definitely the energy has been brought down a little bit. I'm a lot calmer. I mean, that was just my excitement earlier, and I'm still excited, but I think this was a really great mindfulness practice, and we want to encourage you all to practice mindfulness. This was 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be that long. Feel free to take a moment and observe the spaces that you're in. That is a great way to practice mindfulness. I remember listening to Oprah's podcast, and she had a speaker on, and he was talking about mindfulness. And I found it really interesting because he mentioned, taking showers. And I find that when I'm in the shower, I have some of my most creative thoughts. And the speaker talked about, if you want to practice mindfulness and you're in the shower, be present. And I was like, whoa, because I recognize that usually when I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about what's next. So when I get out of the shower, I'm going to do this, this, that, and that. Or this is what my day is going to look like. This is what my week is going to look like. But he said, no, don't focus on what's next. Don't focus on any of those things. Focus on just being in the shower. And so if you decide that you want to incorporate mindfulness as a part of your self-care plan or your self-care practice, you can easily go to YouTube and find a guided meditation, or find some sort of guided mindfulness practice. You can also Google different techniques as well. There's a lot that you can do as it relates to mindfulness. And so we really want to encourage you all to take care of yourself. Well, let me pause that.
Welcome to
I want to pause this and get us to move forward in our slides. So 1 second, because it definitely wants us to go through
allow your
this.
arms to rest gently.
It wants us to go through this again. So, pressing escape, that is our best friend. So, let's continue with our slides so you all have an opportunity to do some writing for your self care plan. So, we want to leave you with this that self care isn't selfish. I have heard previously folks say, it's selfish to practice self care, or you're a selfish person. But because you're taking care of yourself does not mean that you're being selfish. It just means you're taking care of yourself and you realize that it's important for you to take care of yourself, to focus on yourself. And, sometimes you may be in a space where you just need a moment. That is okay. Self care also doesn't have to be this long, drawn out process. For you, self care may be 5 minutes. Self care may look like, taking an hour or a couple hours. I know my sister, she's really good as it relates to self care. She is off on Friday. She's a manager. She's off on Fridays. And she's like, I love being able to do a hair mask. I'll make a face mask. I'm just relaxing, and this is self care for me. And I applaud her for that because she's intentional. And remember, self care is something that we're intentional about. So, how do you fill your cup? I want you to really think about that. I love this picture here because it says you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. This is extremely important. Think about this. This cup right here is not full to the brim. It's not overflowing. It's actually missing quite a bit of water or fluid inside of it. Imagine taking this cup that's in front of us on the screen and pouring that into someone else's cup. How much will we have left for ourselves? And so, the reason why it's important for us to take care of ourselves in relation to this cup is we shouldn't be pouring from an empty cup. We can't pour from an empty cup, but we also shouldn't be pouring from a cup that is only half full or slightly full, because what will be left for us, right? So we want to make sure that our cup is full, that it's overflowing, so that excess we can give to other people. We can pour into other people's cups because first, we're good and we know that we can show up for other people. We can be our best selves for other people, for our jobs, on our jobs, when we're at school, if we are members of a church or a service organization or whatever, we can show up as our best selves because we will have taken care of ourselves first and our cups will already be full. And so, some ways that you can practice self care, and this is not an exhausted list, these are just some limited. This is a limited list, and it also has some really great imagery. But you could try gardening if that's something that you aren't currently doing. If you are staying in an apartment, you can look into having a garden bed, or something, a raised bed or something like that. If you want to try your hand at gardening, eating ice cream or a nice snack or something that you really enjoy can also be a form of self care. Getting sleep, making sure that you have enough sleep. This is definitely a form of self care. If you are not currently getting enough sleep, I want you to really look at your time. I want you to look at how you're allocating your time each day so you can make sure you have enough time so that way you're good to sleep. You're able to wake up, feel energized, and ready to go. You can also try your hand at painting or some other form of art or creative activity. There are adult coloring books that you can also purchase. Taking a bath can definitely be a great form of self care. It provides an opportunity for you to relax. I really enjoy taking baths and being able to have my laptop in there, watch some Netflix, or Hulu or some other type of show or movie that I want to see. And it gives me an opportunity to just chill. Even try journaling if that's not something that you currently do. Creating a gratitude journal may be something really good, because when we're able to think of the positive things in our lives, it can really help us recenter our thoughts, recenter our focus, and we're not focusing on all the things that could go wrong or all the things that are going wrong, but we're focusing on what we're grateful for right now in this moment. Getting exercise, reading a magazine or a book, being able to listen to music, being able to stand in front of the mirror and dance and not care who's there or what's going on. All of these can be forms of self care. And so we want you to really think about that. Now we have our self care wheel here, because this is something that you all are able to use. And as you're developing your self care plan, we want you to identify something in the different areas that you want to start doing or can start doing. Because remember, it's about our whole self. So it's not just about one piece of the pie or one area in our lives, but it's about our entire being. And so please, take that into consideration as you all are looking to take care of yourself. So you see the will here, we have physical listed here. And so that can include our physical body, our need for movement, nutrition, and rest. Emotional can be our psychological well being, our ability to manage the challenges of life and feel fulfillment. Financial can include our degree of contentment with our financial resources and our sense of security. Social may include our sense of belonging, the connection that we have with other people, the support that we have within our relationship circles. Environmental is really focused on the backdrop of our lives. And this may include our home life, our workplace, the communities we live in, the world, those different pockets of the environments that we're a part of, even school, for those of you who are in school. Intellectual would focus on our creative outlets, our ability to take on challenges that expand our understanding, our knowledge, and our skills. Occupational is really focused on the sense of fulfillment that we may get from work or school. And then spiritual may be a sense of connectedness in our world or the ability to feel purposeful and attribute meaning to life. And when it relates to spiritual, I'm a Christian, and so my spirituality is connected to my faith as a Christian. However, you may not, you may have a particular religion, you may not have a religion or be religious, and that's okay. The spiritual aspect of the self care will is not focused specifically on a particular religion or belief system. This is really about our purpose and feeling purposeful. So please be mindful of that. And so for the self care wheel, we have this blank one here because we want you all to focus on these different areas. So if you have your piece of paper and your pen, one of the things that you can do is either take a screenshot of this page, or you can hold up your phone, take a picture of it so you can reference back to it. The other thing is we are going to make these slides available. So you will have an opportunity to go back to this slide, to be able to plug in if you'd like. And so we have physical listed here, financial, recreational, social, mental, spiritual, environmental, and occupational. For occupational, if you're a student, I want you to also include that in that area as well. Our occupation or our vocation can include work or school. The other thing too, as you're looking to identify different types of self-care practices for these different areas, I want you to think about which areas on your will are you spending the least amount of time on? Which areas are you not prioritizing as much as you should? And then I want you to really think about what ways can you really prioritize those things. So for example, if we're thinking about physical, and we say, you know what, I'm really only doing 4 hours of sleep. Maybe one of the things that you can commit to is increasing the amount of time that you sleep each night. Even if that's only 1 hour extra, that's still better than what you were doing previously. Financial, think about the fact that a lot of marriages fail because of finances and communication about finances and so forth. And so, if your financial self care aspect is an area that you really need to work on, identify what that can look like for you. We want you all to think about measurable things that you can do. Um, a part of developing a self care plan is really about, like I said, being intentional, but also being proactive. If I already have things in place that I'm doing, then if something comes up, if a stressful moment happens, whatever the case may be, I can go back to my self care will, my self care plan, and say, hey, in terms of these situations, I can utilize this or I can do this thing. We did 2 breathing techniques at the beginning, the 5-finger breathing technique, and then also the color breathing technique. Feel free to use any of those. Maybe you want to work on feeling connected in your relationships again. Prioritize that. The point is for you to be well in every area of your life. There's no point in succeeding in these few areas, but lacking in these other, because then you won't be well in totality. And so for your plan, hopefully you're still writing, or maybe you finish writing and you're like, this is solid, I'm good to go. We want to encourage you to identify when you plan on starting to do some of these things. When are you going to start taking steps towards really focusing on your self-care, towards taking care of yourself, making sure that you are good, so that way you can show up every day as your best self and you can help those that you want to help. You can do the amazing things that you've been called to do. And you can really fulfill your purpose knowing that you're good. So let's cover some resources and then we'll get out of here. So some self-care resources that you can use. There's actually a website where you can create mandalas, which is so cool. You have the ability to use different colors and create these beautiful mandalas online. You can also use meditation and mindfulness apps, which we're going to cover. UCLA Health has guided meditations that you can use. We have a list of podcasts that we're going to share. And then also the Center for Mindful Living has a lot of self-care resources that you can be connected with. Some of the self-care apps that you can definitely use are listed here. Some of our favorites have been the Calm app, Headspace. For those of you who are living in LA County, when COVID happened, Headspace decided to offer its app for free. So you didn't have to pay for anything. I'm not sure if that's still going on, but I'd suggest Googling it and saying Headspace for LA County residents. Because what they're going to do is you'll be able to go online, click the link. It's through the Department of Mental Health. And they're just going to look to see, they need to see your location essentially. And then when they can tell that you're in LA County, then you'll be able to have the free app. And I got this towards the end of 2020 and I still have not been charged. They haven't told me you're free. You're no longer going to be able to receive the paid functions. And so it's really cool because they have sleep stories, they have guided meditations. LeBron has something on there, like a lot of different celebrities or folks that you may know, and even people you don't know. They even have stuff on there for children. And so I definitely suggest looking at some of those different things. Some podcasts that you can feel free to check out: Live Awake or Live Awake, The Hilarious World of Depression, Not Another Anxiety Show, Cellular Healing, Selfie, The Struggle Bus, Terrible, Thanks for Asking. These are some podcasts that you can definitely look at, listen to, check out the reviews, if you're interested in seeing what other people are saying about them. Also, don't be afraid to like start listening to a podcast and go, this just really isn't for me. And then finding something else that really works for you. And then there are some therapy resources listed here. And so we want to make sure we provide that, as a person of color and everything that we've experienced, just in my lifetime that I've experienced, but also over the last few years with the social reckoning, it's been extremely difficult for people of color. And so we want to make sure we provide resources for you as well, to make sure that you're taking care of yourselves, that you are able to connect with folks who look like you, who have some of the same experiences as you. So feel free to screenshot this list and get this information as well. And then lastly, some crisis resources that are available. So the crisis text line is super cool because it's 24/7. There's always going to be someone who answers, and it's via text message. So you're actually going to be texting with someone, a warm body. You're going to be texting with them. If you text home to 741-741, then someone will answer, and it can just be maybe you want to connect with someone and they'll be able to just text back and forth with you. If you're contemplating suicide or you know someone who is, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is definitely a great resource. 211, you can either call it, you can go to 211ca.org. Either way, there are a lot of resources that they can connect you with. Maybe you're looking for housing, maybe it's substance abuse related. You can find any of that on there. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, feel free to call or you can text. With this, it provides an opportunity for you to get support and services that you may need if you're in a domestic violence situation or you know someone who is. And lastly, Strong Hearts Native Helpline. You can go to the website at strongheartshelpline.org to be able to get some of those services. So our takeaways for today: please know that self-care is different for all of us. What may work for you may not work for your friend, and what may work for your mom may not work for you. So you want to make sure that you find the types of self-care practices and techniques and things that you do that are going to best serve you, that are going to be good for you. Also, please remember to just breathe. Things happen. Life happens. We've experienced so much, but you are resilient. We are resilient. And so we have the opportunity and the just I'll just say the opportunity. We have the opportunity to do amazing things and to lead amazing lives. But in order for those things to happen, we have to make sure we breathe. And then lastly, life is a commitment to yourself. So you want to make sure that you continue to commit to yourself, that you are taking care of yourself, and that whatever it is that you need, you make sure you get it, because we want to make sure you are well and that the folks who are around you are able to see you show up as your best self every single day. So with that, my contact information is listed here. Again, I'm Jen Harris. My cell phone number is here, my email address. And just remember, at Connected to Lead, we're developing resilient leaders one connection at a time. And so thank you all very much. Continue to practice self-care, and namaste.